Hey everyone, it's been a bit since I made a video. I've been a little busy with studying and an upcoming vacation to the land of the rising sun. Super excited for that. And I saw this video from... What the hell is that? Oh shit! What just happened? I feel different. Anyway, I saw this video from Installation00, a Halo YouTuber who made a video about Master Chief John Halo 117's pay through the years of service. And I just wanted to chime in as a former service member myself on how the pay works and see how accurate he is. So let's check it out.
The Master Chief has most definitely dedicated his entire career to military service. His career is in the military. His career. It's his job. How much has the Master Chief been paid during this time?
Now that's a good question since he's been a Master Chief for decades.
One of the first things that John 117 asked of Chief Mendez was the highest rank that he could attain as an enlisted man, which ultimately gave him the goal of achieving the rank of Master Chief Petty Officer. So going back to his conscription, or rather his enlistment into the UNSC in 2517, he would have been enlisted and became a seaman recruit. He occupied that rank for nearly 8 years, when in September of 2525 he was promoted to Petty Officer 3rd Class. A little under 2 months later, all of the Spartans graduated their training, and were thus all promoted to the rank of Petty Officer 2nd Class. And just 2 months later, they were registered as active duty at the age of 14, and at this point John had achieved the rank of Petty Officer 1st Class. And a mere 5 months later, in April of 2526, he achieved the rank of Master Chief Petty Officer, a 3-rank jump in a field promotion by Colonel Marmon Crowther. And he continues to hold this rank for 26 years. I say 26 years because at the end of Halo 3, when we see the monument with the numbers 117 scratched into its surface, there is an insignia stuck to the monument directly under John's number. And the insignia is that of the Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy, which, while it is still classed as an E9 rank, the same as just a Master Chief Petty Officer, it does pay significantly more. And whilst it was most likely a posthumous promotion in memory of John 117, I find it extremely unlikely that when John was revived and then recovered by the UNSC Infinity on Requiem, that they would have effectively demoted him.
So yes, he was by all accounts posthumously made Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy, or MCPON, but in the real world there was only ever one MCPON in the Navy at a time. Now we can't say for certain that there can't be more than that in this futuristic universe set in the mid-26th century, but I'm going to play this as they'd pay him and treat him as a soldier, or in this case sailor, from 2024. Which would mean that even though he was promoted to MCPON in 2553, the UNSC would need to fill that spot for the senior most enlisted person. So from 2553 until his recovery in 2556, there was another person that held the title of MCPON, maybe even 2, as the tenure of MCPON is 2 years, but they can hold it for another 2 after. It is possible that when they found him, the current MCPON was getting ready to be relieved, and they decided to let him have it, but MCPONs and their contemporaries in the Army and Marine Corps are mainly desk guys, which I don't see the Chief being. And he could request a demotion from Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy to just a regular Master Chief, but still be given the same respect as the MCPON. And he could receive the back pay for 4 years of holding the title.
So there we have his entire career rank and promotions listed out. Now we have to reference in the salaries, benefits and hazard pays of each of these ranks in order to ascertain just how much money Chief would hypothetically have in the bank that he could arguably ask to withdraw as back pay if he chose to step out of active service today. And before we get on to that, it's worth noting the way in which the Navy pay. Your pay grade is identified by the E number. So for example, Master Chief is grade E9, while Senior Chief is E8. All of the pay grades are paid out with a basic pay or a basic salary to start with, but then in keeping with Navy traditions of providing you with board and meal provisions, your salary is bolstered with a BAH allowance, which is a basic allowance for housing, assuming the individual has no dependents, which I think we can say with relative certainty the Master Chief doesn't, and a BAS allowance, which is meant to offset the costs for the individual's meals.
Okay, so he's going to add BAH and BAS to this calculation, and I'm going to deduct those as yes, you do receive those in your paycheck, but just as soon as they add them, they take them away if you're a service member living on post and are not married. You only receive the money for BAH if you are either married or an E6 and live off post in your own house or apartment. BAS is also deducted because you'd be eating at the chow hall, so it would just go straight to that. And if you're married or live off post, you wouldn't need BAS to begin with.
So, going in order, first things first. When John was first recruited, he achieved the rank of Recruit Seaman, a role he occupied for 8 years. The basic pay for an E1 Seaman recruit is $22,000 per year, with a BAH allowance of $15,317 per year and a BAS allowance of $4,883 per year, giving a total of $42,201 per year. He occupied this role for 8 years, giving him a total earned salary during this time of $337,608.
Now I'm going to use this basic pay chart from 2022. Hey, the amount I made a month is on here. Nice. Just so I can make my own calculations. Now, if he's using a 2023 model or even a 2024 model, he's definitely going to have a higher outcome at the end, but it should still be relatively the same for me using this 2022 model. Like I said, I'm deducting the BAH and BAS, so he'd actually, after the 8 years of E1 service, have $176,000. Good job, Chief. You're banking as a 14-year-old.
John was then promoted to E4, the rank of Petty Officer 3rd Class. However, he only occupied this rank for around 2 months. So we must take the basic pay and allowances, and then divide the total to find out how much he earned in those 2 months, while simultaneously taking into consideration that he's already served 8 years with the Navy, which for those 2 months means John earned $8,153.68. He and the other Spartans then graduated recruit training and achieved the rank of E5, Petty Officer 2nd Class, a rank that John only held for a single month. So just as we did with the previous rank, we have to take the basic and the benefits and divide them to find out how much he earned in the single month, which is $4,449.26.
After 1 month minus the BAH and other stuff, I have $3497.70.
Then John was promoted to pay grade E6, Petty Officer 1st Class, a rank he occupied for 5 months. Same story again, take the salary and benefits and divide them down, which gives us $15,678.
At E6 for 5 months, he would have $19,321.50.
And then John achieved the rank of Master Chief Petty Officer, and this is where things get quite interesting, but also a little bit confusing, because at this point John had served 8 years of service, yet the basic salary of a Master Chief Petty Officer doesn't actually come into effect until 10 years of service, likely due to the fact that, generally speaking, you don't become a Master Chief before your 10 years of service. Which means as far as the records that I could find are concerned, John, for those first 2 years of being a Master Chief, would either continue to have his E6 salary, or he would just have the BAH and BAS allowances for the Master Chief. Now, because I'm not entirely sure what would happen in this circumstance, I'm going to go with the smaller of the two figures, which in this case would be if he just got the benefits for Master Chief Petty Officer and not the salary, in which case for the first 2 years he'd be paid $27,144 per year.
I might be able to help here. I'll use actual historical figures who made high ranks in a short time as an example. So back in the early 2000s, HBO released a short series called Band of Brothers. It's a historical retelling of the 101st Airborne 501st Easy Company going from airborne training to the battlefields of Europe. In it, we have two individuals who only have 3 years of service but made it to the rank of First Sergeant or E8, which puts us in the same situation as Chief making E9 in 8 years. The two I'm talking about are Carwood Lipton and Floyd Talbert. After the death of First Sergeant Evans in the Normandy jump early morning of June 6th, Carwood would be promoted to First Sergeant a few months later, and he would hold that until just after the Battle of the Bulge, where he would receive a battlefield commission to Second Lieutenant, and Talbert would take over for him until the end of the war in Europe before he would request a demotion to Staff Sergeant. It's a great watch, I recommend it. The records for pay grade don't have E8 payments for service less than 8 years, but these men were E8 after only 2 to 3. Now, the payments for a soldier in World War II were definitely different to the ones for today, but it stands to reason that these men would receive E8 pay even with their short time in service because that was their rank. So even if Chief wasn't in 10 years, he most likely got the 10-year E9 pay any other Master Chief Petty Officer would receive, and he'd just keep that until he hit the next pay raise at 12 years of service. So we'll count his 4 years in the rank with 10 years of service pay, which would bring him to $277,876.80.
However, after this, once he achieves the 10 years of service, his salary would kick in, and then for every 2 years thereafter, his salary would increase with the years of service. So at 10 years, he'd be earning $69,469. At 12 years, it's $71,046. 14, $73,030. 16 would be $75,359. Look, rather than listing all of these out verbally, here they are on screen, and it basically culminates that at the 34 years of service mark, he's earning $129,862 a year. The Human Covenant War came to a close, and John was posthumously given the Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy promotion. However, for the next 4 years, was believed to be dead. But of course, when it was found that he wasn't dead, you can't very well demote him for being alive, and since he's been alive all of that time, he was effectively in a kind of state similar to being behind enemy lines with no backup for a prolonged period of time, thus could still be considered as being actively serving. Now at 36 years, a Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy is paid $129,862 per year, including benefits. At 38 years, that jumps to $135,010 per year and stays that way for the rest of their service career. And finally, we have hazard pay. Well, after graduating and actually going into active service, John spent around 6 months accruing hazard pay at roughly the rank of Petty Officer First Class, being $215 a month, and then spent more or less consistently the next 34 years accruing hazard pay for the rank of Master Chief Petty Officer and Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy. Both are paid at $240 a month. And now we have all of these figures. It's just time for a little long form maths. So 625, carry the 3. Yeah, if Chief decided to step out of active service right now and request his back pay, the UNSC would have to pay him $4,017,732 or £3,174,316.78. Now, yes, arguably speaking, there may have been times in there where he wasn't actually serving on a frontline combat mission, which means the hazard pay wouldn't necessarily apply. And yeah, we could make argument that over the duration of his career, he's kind of spent his BAH and BAS benefits for board and food. But really, when we're talking gross pay, the Master Chief, John 117, is a millionaire. In truth, even if you did deduct all of the benefits, he's still loaded. He's still a millionaire. Chief got dollar. And until next time.
Without hazard pay, but with his increase for time in service by the time of the Human Covenant War, he had 26 years in the Master Chief Petty Officer rank and 35 total years of service. He would be making $8,559.90 a month, which would be a yearly salary of $102,718.80 for that year, again without hazard pay. But adding all of it together with the hazard pay of $240 a month got me $3,077,017 over the course of his enlistment from 2517 to 2560. You know, the Halo series has been known to have an obsession with the number 7, and it's even shown in Chief's overall pay after 43 years of service. This was fun to do. I'd love to do more stuff like this, but I have very important tests to take in the coming weeks, plus a video for the voters. And then I'm going on vacation for a whole month to celebrate my graduation, so this will be the last video for a while. But I will be back with more content. Now, I hope you guys like my new avatar, the Plague Jester, and I will see you all in the next video. So, have a good day, good evening, whatever your time zone. Bye-bye.